podcast, a radio show, and an Alexa skill. Presented by Riverside Theater and Ballet Vero Beach, two of the best in the arts in Florida. I'm Adam Schnell, filling in for Willie Miller, who is with you online and on the air every week, talking to people in the arts on the Treasure Coast and well beyond. Thanks to Riverside Theater for supporting our Arts Blast tradition on the air. Live in the Loop and the Comedy Zone are here most weekends, and starting September 15th, Comedy Zone performances start at 6 and 8 p.m. Also, the new season of professional shows starts in October. Check the website for the schedule of comedians, bands, sign up for a dance class, and learn about everything Riverside at riversidetheater.com. Now on with the show. Oscar Sales and I are co-hosting today to talk about all things Riverside Theater. Our guest is Jon Moses. Welcome, Jon. How are you?
I'm doing great, Adam. Doing great.
I am so excited for the stories that we are about to get today, Oscar. So, Jon, you are actually local, and
Yep, I am.
Well, wait. Let's introduce it. Maybe someone doesn't know who he is.
Well, but here's the thing,
Everyone
Oscar.
should know who he is.
First of all, we're worried about messing this up because he is our boss.
That's right.
And the other thing is I never know what title to call him because he's done so many things at the theater.
Managing Director,
COO. I got it 50% right. That's good because I'm really only a part-time employee over there. Anyway, Jon Moses, Managing Director, COO of Riverside Theater, and he's a local boy. Can you tell us how you got started and even how you got to Riverside Theater?
I am a local boy. I actually was born and raised in Fort Pierce, Florida. My parents moved there, just a year or so before I was born, and really, I think I got started. I caught the bug, so to speak, I think when I was around 11 years old. And I was one of those kids, and I know this is from a whole different world compared to today, but I was one of those kids that no one really knew what to do with in school.
I wonder if there's any others of those sitting around in the studio this morning.
There's at least two in this room, right? And so, I got overlooked so many times, and in terms of doing school plays or anything that had to do with the stage. And I finally kind of had enough, and so I memorized every part of the first act of this, school play before auditions. And so that way, when I got up on stage and started reading, I didn't have to look at the script, and all the teachers finally were like, "Oh wow, maybe this kid can do this," right? And then that kind of launched it. And then that very summer, I what was once the St. Lucie Community Theater, I think it's called the Pineapple Playhouse now, right? I think in St. Lucie, and they were starting a children's summer program. Claire McCarthy, actually, and I know many people know Claire. Yeah. She's infamous in this area for being in the theater, and that kind of launched it from there. And then so
you were in the performing aspect.
I was on the stage. Yeah, up until the age of 22 or so. And that's kind of when I took the switch, and I was always fascinated with the building and the designing and the technical side of things. And even when I was performing, I did all that because you just couldn't get me out of the theater. And again, different world, right. There's no social media. There was nothing to do other than, hey, we can play in the theater and build really cool things. And so that's kind of started on the stage.
And what was the path from performing through to backstage to actually finding Riverside? What was that like? Where did that take you?
Well, as I tell people, forgive the reference, but I Forrest Gumped my way through it. I really had no idea how much of any of this worked. I just knew that I liked to do it, and if there was something to do, I would volunteer to do it and learn as much as I could. And so whether it was through college, whether it was getting out of college and starting my first professional jobs of summer stock and even teaching, it was literally one opportunity after another. And I just kind of said, oh, okay, I can do that. Oh, okay, I can do that. And then just kind of followed where everything led. I think it was in 99. So yeah, 24 years ago, this month, actually, I started at Riverside. And prior to that, I was actually teaching and a technical director at a performing arts center just up in Flagler County, Florida. And I decided I didn't want to do that. I was basically receiving tours, and I wanted to create them again. It's one thing to, just, load them in and load them out, but I liked the excitement and the thrill of creating the work. And I heard Riverside was looking for some help. And in terms of the scene shop.
Right.
And so I submitted my letter to, I figured, well, hey, I like building scenery. I'll be a carpenter. I don't care, And so I came in for the first interview for the carpenter position, and it went very well. And I went back up to Flagler, and I got a call maybe a week later, and they said, well, thanks for coming down. We'd like you to come back down again with, more of this information and more of that, because what we really want to talk to you about being the technical director. And so, right away I'm thinking, wow, I've already been promoted.
That's a big promotion.
But I haven't, I haven't even been offered a job, but I've been promoted. And so I went back down, and I had more drawings and so forth for them to look at that. And I went back up to Flagler, and maybe a week later I got a call saying, hey, thanks so much for coming down, but can you come back down one more time and show us more of this? Because we really need a production manager, and we really think that you might fit that bill. And so I'm thinking, man, this is like my second promotion, and I haven't even been offered a job yet. So I did. I packed up, came back down again, and I met with the folks there again, and then sure enough, a week after that, got the call saying, well, we'd like you to start in August, as the production manager. I said, okay, great, and that's, so again, as I say, Forrest got my way through it, because it's just how that's worked out for me.
Well,
Yeah, but it's a wealth of knowledge that you've created and that you've experienced from a child through college, through professional career, that has led you to where you're at now at Riverside.
Well, and I think, a lot of the people, because like I said, as a local, and I know many folks listening probably know these folks, but David Molberg at the college, who's now retired, Clara McCarthy, Bob Phillips, I think she worked with when I first started. But all of these individuals that I experienced through my education and everything, they all instilled that just be ready and able to do anything you can. I mean, we're in a day of specialization, and everyone wants to just, wedge themselves into. I didn't come from that school of thought, and I believe in it. It has served me well, and it served many of my friends and colleagues that I grew up with and went to school with very well, because we were malleable. We could bend with the needs.
And I think that is, I mean, I won't go up on a soapbox and say that maybe that's a skill that is no longer present, but the skill of just get in there and figure it out. It's a different mentality, and it's one of the things that's allowed you to be so successful at Riverside throughout the years, because you had the curiosity, and you also had the desire to, well, we need to do this. We've got to figure this out, or it's not going to continue. And I think, speaking for myself, I think that goes back to that magic of coming together and putting on a show, right? Exactly. It's a bunch of people coming together. Like, maybe you don't have someone that knows exactly how to carpenter the set together, but you're going to figure it out. And in the process, you create this magic. Do you feel like that's one of the things that's kept you at Riverside for so long and so interested? Is that, not just the challenges of the job, but that ability to create that magic?
Absolutely. I think our environment has been such, for most people at Riverside, that we have the attitude that we can try something, that we can explore, and I think, and create. And that's probably the biggest thing for me. For me personally, as long as I feel like I can constantly create something, and whether it's building a hotel, as we did a few years ago, or adding a grill onto the theater, for Live in the Loop, or building a set, it's creating in my book, and it's pushing everything forward. And I think that's where Riverside has really thanks, not just to the leadership, but to the board, to the donors, they all have this sense of adventure of, okay, well, this sounds exciting. Let's try it, and I think that's ultimately what does keep me, here and would keep me anywhere,
And it's very collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being on the staff at Riverside, I feel the support of everyone in every department. So being the head of this organization, I mean, Alan Cornell is the CEO, but you managing the day-to-day, you must feel the support from all the departments in whatever vision you might bring forward.
Absolutely. And being able to monitor and I don't want to, maybe protect isn't the word, but protect that environment so that everyone can do what they do and create and contribute and collaborate. And then there are days where protect is the correct word. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, in our business, it's such a mix of people and artistry and different ways of doing things that, it can be tricky at times, to keep everyone on that same frame of mind.
For sure.
Well, I think it's a time for a break, right, Jesse? So, Arts Blast on the Air is proud to be supported by Ballet Vero Beach, with subscriptions for its new 11th season on sale now, featuring homegrown works as well as masterworks by choreographers George Balanchine, Martha Graham, and Christopher Wheeldon. All that plus Nutcracker on the Indian River, which is thrilling. A new version of the West Side Story Suite. We encourage everyone to get tickets and discover the company's community engagement programs at balletverobeach.org, where dance is a universal language.
Welcome to Riverside Theater's Comedy Zone, where the comedy is wild, untamed, and downright hilarious. Come out this Friday and Saturday night at 7 and 9 p.m. for the Treasure Coast Best Live Stand-Up Comedy Show, featuring nationally recognized comedians, with cabaret-style seating and food and drink table service. Warning! You may laugh until it hurts. Kickstart your evening with live entertainment, food, and drinks at Live in the Loop. Buy tickets at riversidetheater.com and get ready for a night of non-stop laughs.
If you dream of creating a home with furniture where you make life one long weekend, visit Sunshine Furniture now and save 50% on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington during the fall savings event. Bedroom, living, and dining room, home office, media, and occasional furniture that is inviting and comfortable, Tommy Bahama and Lexington offer everything you need to furnish your Florida home. We're also having a huge half-price fall sale on lots of other coastal furniture by Universal, Hooker, Riverside, Seawinds, and Capri, including big sales on patio furniture by Berlin Gardens, Lloyd Flanders, Telescope, Kingsley Bait, and Windward. All pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price, and in-stock rugs are on sale too. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and be sure to shop our outlet store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
Arts Blast on the Air is proudly supported by Ballet Vero Beach. The company enters its second decade with the 2023-2024 season. Performances feature choreography by George Balanchine, Christopher Wheeldon, and Martha Graham, as well as signature works in the spectacular Nutcracker on the Indian River. Subscriptions are available now, and single tickets go on sale November 1st. For tickets and more information, visit balletverobeach.org. That's balletverobeach.org, where dance is a universal language.
And we are back with Arts Blast on the Air. I'm Adam Schnell with Oscar Sales, my co-host today, filling in for Willie Miller, and our guest, Jon Moses, Managing Director and COO of Riverside Theater. We were talking in the break, Jon, about, you've mentioned several times education, both your own and arts education in general. A lot of people don't know you've also always been a teacher. So can you talk a little bit about why that's important to you and how you integrate that into the education programs we offer at Riverside?
Yeah, sure. For the longest time, I would always, through college, I always I assisted. I think the first real teaching that I got started in was working with Patrick Madden at Port St. Lucie High School, he's still working there, and his kids come to the shows still. Where I would go in and help once or twice a week and teach stagecraft and help them build the sets and for their school plays and everything. And that goes back a while ago. And as I mentioned earlier, I did teach high school for 2 years prior to Riverside. And then once I got to Riverside, I was able to go back to as an adjunct and work with David Mohlberg at University State College with their theater program and develop an associate in science degree in theater technology, which we once had there. And that was very important because every step of the way, whether it was the Port St. Lucie High School, my high school, or the college, it was a way of getting the students to get integrated and to work at the theater and to be able to practice and learn at a professional theater. And that kind of has been the key. I would work with them on their campus with their shows that they created, and then I would bring them to the Riverside where they would work with our, professionals who were creating the show and learn from them. And in most cases, actually pay them to do it, which was another. I always looked at that as as not as a free source of labor, but no, they were serving us a great function, and we were serving them, with education. So that's always been a core to that. And as far as, like our children's program at Riverside, my very first experience and exposure to Riverside Theater was actually through the children's theater program when Michael Kent was the education director. And I had maybe a year prior played the role of Albert Peterson and Bye Bye Birdie at the college. And I know Michael Kent came up to see it and many other folks. And so they were looking for that person to play that role in their summer stage production of, I think this was in 93. And of course I was in the process of leaving here and going to Orlando or Tallahassee, one or the other. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll come back and do it. And that was the first time that I really got to know much about Riverside Theater as well as perform on the main stage at that point. So it's always been a part of me. It's always been, it's always been important. And I think, how we are growing that program today and how we are growing many of our community outreach programs, that it's a big part of my heart and my journey that I feel strongly that it should be for others too.
Well, I think that it's a little bizarre being on this side and interviewing you because you start to hear how Riverside and you and Alan Cornell, the producing artistic director, how now the organization is such an institution that there is so much influence both within the community and with people that you have now sent out into the world beyond who have either worked here or were trained in the education program, that the values have sort of multiplied exponentially. You're talking about things like education and working with professionals. Well, that's exactly where the Riverside Dance Festival came from. And because of that, there's a Ballet Vero Beach and all of these things. It's sort of like, it's that drop in the middle of the bucket.
Right.
And it ripples out and we don't always know where it goes. So my question with that for you is, we talked a little bit about, making magic, and that's one of the reasons that you stay in the job. Are there any big goals that you see for the organization, or there are places you would like it to go, or populations you would like to see it reach? That you're working on, or that you want to work on in the future?
That's a tricky question because, I don't want to sound like I don't have goals, but on the same regard, again, I'll go back to a word I think I said earlier, is being malleable. Everything is changing so quickly. And to have, a goal, a 5-year goal for something, it's very tricky because
sometimes 5-day goals are tricky.
5-day goals, because it all changes, and you kind of start over. So, so I think, the goals that we have there are pretty timeless, and that is that, we try to foster the creative environment for the artists that come through. And I think that's one thing that Alan Cornell has really instilled in me in all the years, and all the staff at the theater, is to really, is putting the artistry first. And when with that, you have to learn and have to always be acceptable to their ideas and trying new things and exploring, and not looking at it just looking at it as a fun challenge and not look at it as a problem. That's what we're there to do, is to create. And as far as, whether it's with education or the audience, the goal has always been the same, that we're trying to include as many people as we can.
Right.
And that's what's constantly changing. 24 years ago, it wasn't an issue to have dozens of kids come to our campus every day. And now that's a challenge. It's a challenge for the parents. It's a challenge for the costs. It's a challenge around school schedules and testing schedules and other after-school programs that are in many ways more important or a priority before they then get to, experience, some creativity with us. And so it has changed our mindset of how we approach including and involving as many people as possible. So, scholarship programs, we're now scholarshiping 90%. I mean, Adam, you deal with this. 90% or so of the kids that come in, and we do. Linda Downey, she was very, very adamant. When she was education director, that we don't turn a child away,
right?
Because of money. And I have continued that in honor, and we will continue to do so. And so we are constantly raising more and more funds to pay for that.
Yeah.
And because they can't get to us, our goal right now is to go to them. Mm-hmm. And so we are expanding our community outreach programs, and all in the spirit of, this is not what we can do for you, in the spirit of, how can we help you?
Well, and I think that putting the artistry first as a baseline is just, it inspires me. It's one of the reasons that, with every other hat I wear, that I try and continue to work at Riverside. And hopefully after this interview, Jon will still let me work there. But that putting the artistry first, but then figuring out what the art can do for the community it's exciting, right? Mm-hmm. Because you were just talking about our new education and engagement initiatives, the fact that you and Kevin Quillinan, the director of theater education, and myself in some cases, we went to local nonprofits and we sat down with them and said, what do you need? What do you want? That's a very different way of doing things. Not, here's a program, dropping it in your lap. Right. And it's really the same thing. I feel it's the same way that Alan curates a season. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily like, this is what I want to see on the stage. It's a really delicate balance of appealing to as many people as possible. And for me, that makes it very, very exciting. I'm getting the signals from our amazing producer, Jesse, which means it's time for Oscar and I to wrap up our first co-hosting responsibility. But I just want to say thank you, Jon, for being with us.
Thank you.
It is always an inspiration to be a part of Riverside. And I know you know that I, in particular, hold you in high esteem because we've known each other. You've been there 24 years. We've known each other for 22 of those years. So we have a long history as well. And it's been really amazing to see everything that you've done for the organization.
Yes, thank you, Jon. Thank you.
And thank you.
And thanks to my co-host, Oscar Sales, and our guest, Jon Moses, again. And a big thank you to all of you for joining us again for Arts Blast on the Air, the podcast, radio show, and Alexa skill, All presented by Ballet Vero Beach and the phenomenal Riverside Theater. We're spreading the word online and in Willie Miller's Arts Blast, the free online Florida arts news magazine. Go to williemiller.com to learn all about it. And join us again next week for another edition of Arts Blast on the Air. I'm Adam Schnell. Thanks for listening.